Hello everyone. Today we're going to talk about the QuickBook Online. So today I'm going to show you the complete training for the QuickBook Online. So we're going to look at the most important area from the basic to advanced level, and I'm going to show you every single steps. And that will be very helpful for you if you are working on QuickBook and especially QuickBook Online. And if you are a bookkeeper and if you manage your book on QuickBook Online. So we'll start from the very beginning and we're going to uh, show one by one, and I'll try to go every single important steps we have in the QuickBook. And hopefully after watching this video, you'll be able to uh, maintain your book on the QuickBook. So let's have a look at the content that we're going to cover on today's session. So the first thing and the most important thing on the QuickBook is our bank reconciliation. Also, we have some reporting and invoices. So this thing is the most important thing, and we're going to look at every single thing in this session. Let's have a look what we're going to cover. So the first thing we're going to look at the introduction. So what is QuickBook Online? How does it work? And then we're going to look at choose the right version and create account. So I'm going to show you how to create account on QuickBook. And obviously, like the 30 days, you will get free for the QuickBook Online. So if you have a account, the first 30 days you can practice, and you don't have to put any account detail. You don't have to put any bank details. So you just need to create account. All you need to put your email address, your phone number, the account will be created. And 30 days you can practice, you can learn from there. And maybe some advanced feature will not be there, but most of the feature you'll be able to practice, especially the essential feature that you need to maintain your QuickBook. Then I'm going to show you the how to add the company name, the basic info, and how to add the logo. So that's very basic. We'll look at on the QuickBook Online how to do all of this thing. And then the next thing we're going to look at the basic navigation, QuickBook Online. So we're going to look at how we do the basic navigation. So we have a navigation that will help us to do the work a little bit quicker. So we're going to look at that as well. Then account and setting overview, that's another basic stuff for the company. For example, our financial year, our accrual concept, and for example, the multi-currency, and for example, any sort of warning. So we would like to keep it on or off. We're going to look at from there as well. Then manage and create QuickBook users. So you're going to look at how to create a users and how to give the access to the accountant. For example, if you have an accountant, how are we going to give the access to the accountant? So accountant can log in or look at your information. Also, you're going to look at what type of user we have. For example, we have a master user, we have admin, we have a sales user. So how we can restrict the control. So you're going to look at that as well. Then we're going to look at the chart of account is one of the most important area in QuickBooks. So how to create the chart of account and how to put the opening balance and beginning balance on the chart of account. Then we're going to look at set up the product or service, and we're going to look at if we provide the services, if we sell the product, so how we can create the product and services. Then we're going to look at set up a new customer and the vendor. So if we have a new customer, if you have a supplier, how can we set up the new customer and supplier? Then you're going to look at our purchase order. So you will see how to create the orders and the bills. And we're going to look at the estimate and also the invoice for the customer. Then we're going to look at the new transaction button. So we have a navigation button with the plus, and that will give us some easy access. For example, if you like to create some journals and other stuff, we can do it from there. Then we're going to look at the receipt payment against the invoice. So for example, if we raise the invoice and the customer make the payment, how to match the transaction, we're going to look at that area as well. And then how to pay the bill with the bank or the credit card. And then how to create a manual expense. For example, it is possible sometimes some expense you just spend from the petty cash is not on your bank. So how we create that, we're going to look at this as well, how to create a journal and how to look at the report for the profit and loss account and the balance sheet and the trial balance. We're going to look at different sort of report on the report section. And we're going to look at how to match the transaction. So for example, if we raise the invoice and if we receive the money on the bank, so QuickBook have the option to look at this transaction is a match with that invoice. So we're going to look at how to do this thing. Then we're going to look at how to connect the QuickBook Online with the bank. And also, if we don't have that sort of bank where you can make the connection, we're going to look at how to actually upload the bank statement on the QuickBook. Then we're going to look at categorize the transactions. So for example, how we categorize the expense and income. Then reconcile the bank. So you're going to look at how we can reconcile our bank. It's very important. And the final one, we're going to look at reports overview. So there's a different type of report. And we're going to look at how to customize the report based on the requirement and where you can save it and what type of report we need to look at the company financial statement. So this is the area we're going to look at today, and we're going to do in detail. So hopefully it will be very helpful for you to understand how we do the bookkeeping on QuickBook Online. All right. So if we go to the QuickBook Online, the first thing I like to show you how we can just create an account and have a 30 days free trial. So all you have to do, you have to type on the Google QuickBook Online trial. So this option will come, and from here you can have a look. Like all you have to do, you have to just like make an account, and after you're making the account, what you can do, you need to just put your email address and the phone number, and the activation will be started, and you can access 30 days without any cost. You really don't have to put your bank detail, no credit card, nothing. If you like to look at like the pricing, so if you can click the price, then you'll see like it will ask you to look at the US or UK version. We'll look at the UK version, and you see we have a different sort of service from the QuickBook. And the most important one we look at for the limited companies, the essential one, that's this most popular one in the UK. That's £6 a month. And obviously then it gives you like discount for the time being. You have 75% discount for the first 3 months, and after that is £24 a month. And you have a plus, you have an advanced, so it depends what type of feature you need. So based on the features, you need to get the right one. For example, the users, for example, Essential have 3 users, and the this one, the next one, the plus one, have like 5 users. So you need to basically know what type of QuickBook you need. The QuickBook for accountant is a little bit different. So if you look at QuickBook for the accountant, so you might need to talk sometime with the QuickBook. They might give you a very good offer, because sometimes they can give you whole year free. Sometimes they can give you £1 per client. So my advice would be, if you're an accountant, if you like to get the QuickBook, give a call to the QuickBook, explain everything. You might get a very good deal from them. All right, so once you create the account, what will happen? It will all you have to do, you have to log in to your QuickBook, and once you log in, you will be able to look at this information. So first thing first, if you, for example, forget where you are, you can always click on the QuickBook logo, and it will take you to the main page. So for example, if you click anywhere, and if you don't know where you are, you can always click on the QuickBook, and it will take you to the home page. Now, if you look at this window, so where I just created a name, the company called Dreamland Limited, and you can change the name if you like. I just like name I like to show you for the all this work we're going to do today. Now, a very important thing, when you register the company, even for a trial, they'll ask your company name. You can put any company name, XYZ Limited, And later on, you can change it. And it will ask you a few more things. For example, what category is it? Accountancy? Is it restaurant? What type of company it is? You can actually choose, or you can skip, just quickly skip and just create an account and just log in, and you'll see this information. All right, so once we have this one, this is our dashboard, or we can say it is our home window. So here we can see we have a business overview as well. If you have a look, if you like to see the business overview, it will show you some different picture. But mainly we're going to look at today from the accountant point of view. So for example, if we are accountant, how we deal with the client, how we maintain the books. So we're going to look at from the accountant point of view. So we go to again to the home page, and there's a dashboard here. So you can say business overview and get things done. Now, if you look at on the right hand side, you have a gear menu. From the gear menu, you can on the bottom you can see they have like two options. Say you are viewing QuickBook as an accountant view. So for example, if we took the QuickBook as an accountant, we're going to look at this view. But if we like to get as a client, for example, I'm the client, I have only one business, so I can really get the business view. So here I can just click and switch to the business view that I really don't want to show you, because we want more option. For the client, we have very few options, because client don't need all of these things. So client need like just to enter the invoice and create the bill, this and that. But accountant need all these things. So for example, payroll, taxes, VAT, report, estimate. So there's a lot of things we're going to learn from the QuickBooks. So we'll look at from the accountant point of view. All right, so this is our first thing. Once the account is created, the first thing we need to do, we need to set up our company. So to do that, we have to click on the gear menu once again. And here we're going to select our account and the setting. So your company account and setting. So on the account and setting, there are a few things you can see on the right-hand side we have here. So we have a company. So the company name, I choose a Dreamland. So I can change it anytime I like. So for example, I say Dreamland, just make the capital, Dreamland accountant. Dreamland accountant, and I like to add a logo for that. So for example, if I want to choose a logo, I click here, go to the download, choose a logo, and that's Dreamland. And it will take a few seconds, and after that you can just save, and you can save more than one logo. So if you like to change in the future, it will be saved on the galleries. You really don't have to do it every time. So the next thing, we're going to look at our company legal name. The reason you can see this one same as company name. Sometimes the company have a registered name. Also at the same time, the company can have a trading as name. So if the company have a different trading as name, we can always add that. If the company have the same name, like a registered name with the company house, you can follow the same one. If the company have EIN or SSN, this is basically for the company who run in the US. So for the UK, we really don't have to worry about this thing. So for the timing, we'll skip that and we'll just save. So this is our company, and this is our detail. So here, a few more information we have. You can see we have a company type. So for example, if you want to say what type of company it is, we can say is a accountant. So the accounting service, and then we need the company information. For example, the email address, then the phone number, website. We say www.dlandaccountant.co.uk, just anything you like. So let's say All right, so it's not taking the website. So Zealand accountant.co.uk. Just take any name you like. Just I'm showing randomly to the website. Then the company address. So we need to put the company address. The reason we're filling everything, we like to see how the invoice look like, how the estimate look like. For that reason, we need this information to show on the invoice. So that's why we're filling it. But it's not very important thing, you can just type the company address and information. So it's addressed by search. So you say, like, for example, uh, North Avenue. Just pick anyone you like. So we just save it. And then we have address. So that's the company address. If we have a different address for the operation, for example, we have a registered office address and we have another address that for the business operation, we can put another address. So for that, we can keep like same as company address. All right, so we are happy with that. The information we have for the company. We move to the next section, billing. Now here you can look at the different way you pay for the QuickBooks. So we really don't have to worry right now because we are on the file period. So we just want to look at how does it work. So then we have a users and then we have a sales expenses. Now sales is important because here, if you like to customize anything, you can do that. For example, normally the invoice we give to the customer for 30 days. That means the customer have 30 days to make the payment for the invoice. But if you like to offer more to any customer, you can always change that. And you can do from the customer section as well. But here, if you set up 30 days. So every time, for example, if I enter the invoice date, the due date will be automatically created. So for example, if I said 1st of July, it will be automatically show like the invoice is due on 31st of July. And then preferred delivery method, non-shipping. So we have a discount, deposit, accept tips, anything if you like to put, you can do that. For the timing, we'll keep it 30 days. This is the standard. Then you have a product or service, what type of thing you sell, what type of offer you do. So you have revenue recognition. So this is something like when you're going to uh, recognize the revenue. This is the tax point thing. If you really don't understand it, it's like when you have income, when you're going to recognize it, that means like when you're going to tell the HMRC, that's my income for that quarter or for that period. So it's a little bit linked with the VAT as well. So for the time being, we'll skip it. Then you have a progress invoices, reminder, this and that. So we have all this information, but most of this is not very important. A few things that is important that we need, we're going to look at only that thing. Then you have expenses, and on the expenses, we can say that's for our supplier. So we can create any expenses, either we can create a bill. I'm going to show it later on. Payment will tell you like how can you accept the payment from the customer. So the QuickBook have an option, you can collect the uh, payment from the customer through QuickBook. They have the option is called Go Payment or Merchant Services. So if you link your customer with that, customer can pay you for the invoice directly through the QuickBook, and the information will be updated on the QuickBook. Then you have a time, and normally it's the first day of the work is Sunday. So for example, if we think the first of the work is not Sunday for me, first day of the work is uh, Monday for me, you can change it. So then you have the advanced. Here we need to look at few things. It's very important, the advanced one. Now we have to set up our first month of the financial year or fiscal year. So you can say it's a financial year or fiscal year. It's the same thing. Sometimes you can see like the financial year and the tax year is same. Now, the company financial year, accounting year, obviously like can be different. For example, January to December or June to July. So when the company started, from that time, the company have to count 12 months, and every 12 months they have a accounting year. But the tax year is decided by the HMRC. For example, April to April is a tax year and is fixed. We cannot change the tax year, but the accounting year can be changed. So financial year we can set up on the QuickBooks. So for example, if my business started on January, I can say my first month of the trading for the business is January. If it is not, I can change it. So I can keep as like a financial year. So that would be my fiscal year as well. Normally keep it is very important to generate the report. So if you choose the wrong month here, so what will happen? You're not going to get the profit and loss account for the 12th month, or you cannot see the balance sheet for the whole year. So if you choose, like, for example, the last year financial statement, it will give you the wrong timing period because you didn't choose the right starting period for your business. Counting method in UK, 99% of the business we follow accrual concept. But if you know your business following any other concept, for example, the cash or prudence, you're going to follow that. Accrual concept, if you don't know what it is, so here we only match the transaction based on the recognition of that transaction. So when we recognize any transaction, or actually like when the transaction is occurred, then we recorded it. So regardless the customer is paid, or regardless we pay to our supplier. So it is not very important. According to the accrual concept, as soon as you make a sales, doesn't matter your customer paid to you or not, you have to record it on your financial statement. Or if you pay, if you make a purchase, regardless you paid to your supplier or not, you have to record this transaction. So this is basically accrual concept. So if you have the financial background, you know what it is. But for the preparation of the accounts in UK, 99% company follow the accrual concept. So you can just choose accrual concept. That will be absolutely fine. All right, then we have a company tax form. Then you have a chart of account. Now, chart of account, if you like to show the account number, for example, if you say like enable the account number, you can do that. If you don't want, you don't have to. The categorize is a track classes, a track location. If you really want, that's the advanced level thing. But if you don't want, absolutely fine. You really don't have to track your classes or location. Then we have fewer more information for the automation, the project, the currency. Now here we are going to look at only for the company in United Kingdom. So we are not going to show the any multi-currency. But remember, if you have a business in UK, and for example, you have a bank in USA, so you want to connect the USA bank with the UK company, it's not going to work unless you select the multi-currency. So you need to be very much careful. Like multi-currency is all about like when you have a currency except pound. For example, if you have a business bank in Germany or France, any EU country or any country outside of UK, you have to choose the multi-currency so that QuickBooks understand your transaction could be exchanged or will be converted in different currencies. All right, then the date format, we choose in UK day, month, and year. So in normally like in USA, they choose like month, day, and year. So in UK, we start with the date, then to the month and year. So I'll choose that. And then we check the number format, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We are happy with that. And rest of the information is a look like okay. So sign me out inactive for 1 hour. It depends how long you want to keep it open, and that's it. So once we're happy with that, so we will just like click save, and then we can go back to our QuickBook and click the QuickBook to come to the home page again. Now we're going to look at the next thing. The next thing we're going to look at how to set up the users. So for example, if I have a accountant or if I like to add some user on the QuickBook, all you have to do, you have to click on the gear menu. So you can see this gear menu we have. And on the under the company, we have a manage users. So if you click the manage users, so we're going to look at this page. Under the manage user section, you can see here we have add section. I can add any user you like. So for example, if I like to give access to anyone, I just need to write his name and email address. So what will happen? the invitation will be sent to that person by email, and that person have to accept the invitation, and later on he will be able to access to this QuickBook data for this company. Now, if you have a specific rule for that person, you can choose, for example, company admin, expense manager, expense submitter, or payroll manager. So if you know what that person role will be, so based on his role, you can give them access for that. But of course, like if you want to give everything access for that person, so what you need to just choose the company admin, so you'll get access for everything. Or if you like to split the access, you can always do that. So you can always give what type of permission you like to give to that company. So if you click the permission, you have a sales, expense, inventory, bookkeeping. So you can just choose what type of access you like to give to that person. For example, if the person is bookkeeper, you just need to give access for the bookkeeping. You don't have to give the access for the payroll or for the VAT. So you can actually choose what you like. And on the top, we have here, so if you look at the rule, on the role section, you can look at different sort of role, and you can edit as well here. Based on the requirement, you can add one new role if you want. And if you have accountant, you need to click here with accountant, and all you have to do, you have to type the accountant email here, and you have to click the invite. So the accountant going to receive invitation from you, and the accountant have to accept the invitation, and he will be able to log into your QuickBook to see everything. Normally, for example, the client just do the bookkeeping sometimes, and they give the access to the accountant, so that accountant can look at the book, is it correct or not, or if anything that concern the accountant, he can come back to the client, or he can prepare the year-end accounts based on the information you are entering on the QuickBook or from the bank feed. So this is basically for the accounting section. All right, so after that, this is the basic thing we have discussed so far. Now we're going to look at our navigation tab and just make ourselves a little bit familiar with the QuickBook, what we have here. So the first thing I like to show you, the gear menu. This is very important because from this gear menu, we can do most of the jobs very quickly. Sometimes QuickBook give you the same thing in different places, the way you are comfortable to do. So you need to choose which one is more comfortable to you. For example, if you look at the chart of account, and from the accounting, if you click here, accounting, you can see the chart of account here as well. So this thing can help you from both way, but we want to show you everything we have and which tab are more essential or important for us. We're going to discuss about that as well. So chart of account is one of the most important and most essential tab we have for QuickBook Online or for any bookkeeping software, because without chart of account, we'll not be able to create an account, and we cannot follow the account for this bookkeeping purpose. For example, if we need to enter a bank details, if you want to create an account for the expenses, everything has to be done from the chart account. For example, if we took a loan from the bank, so we need to create a loan account on the QuickBooks, so it has to be done from the chart of account. So any sort of expense, asset, liability, anything we like to open, it has to be created from the chart of account. Now, by default, on the chart of account, they already give you so much. Normally, for example, non-current asset, cash and bank current asset, then capital, liability, this sort of thing, already they give you by default, because this is very common for every single business. But if you think like whatever I want is not there, you can always make one for you. So this is the first thing, chart of account. Then the next thing we like to look at here on the tool section, that is, you can see here we have the import data. If I like to import any data, so export data, reconcile, budgeting, audit log, then we have a resolution center, and back up the company. Now, the backup the company is all about if you like to save everything about this company, so that if anything happens, you can still get all the data. So this is like only for example, if you want to back up in the Excel, you can do that. Let's say, for example, after a few years, you decided to leave the QuickBook and you have the last 3-4 years data in the QuickBook. So what you will do, because you're going to lose all the data. So at that time, what will happen, you can back up the data in Excel. And after a few years, if you like to come back to the QuickBook again, you can import the data. And obviously, like you can see all the data is there. And also, like if you want to move to QuickBook to any other software, for example, Sage or Xero, you can take this backup with you and you can actually upload to the other software and it will help you to have this data there. Or you can save on Excel for the future record for the HMRC requirement. You have to keep the data for 6 years, so you can keep everything on the Excel. On the other hand, the QuickBook also link with the Irish. For example, if you need to prepare the limited company accounts, then you can use the Irish software, for example, the tax filer, and the QuickBook is directly linked with the tax filer. So that means if your bookkeeping is done, you can actually connect your bookkeeping with the tax filer. The accounts will be automatically connected. So all you have to do, you have to check, prepare your CT600 and submit to HMRC and Company House. So your work will be very much easy. So if you know how to do this thing. The audit log is all about like when you work. So what will happen, like let's say like you have a different user and someone delete one entry or someone change one entry, but no one is accepting who did it. So if you click the audit log, you can actually see who logged in to this QuickBook, who changed what information, what time, which day, who is the user for that thing. So you can actually check every single thing when you added something, when you delete something. So it will keep record all the history like your audit. So later on, if anything happened, no one will be able to deny like, oh, I didn't do it, because it will be recorded there. And that's the reason the QuickBook have a more user, so that if you want user done something, another user should not be blamed for that. Then you have reconcile. This is another important tab we have. That's the bank reconciliation. We have on the accounting section also we have reconciliation. So we can choose from here, we can choose from there. So this is another important tab. So once the bookkeeping is done, our bank has to be reconciled. Now, if you don't know what is bank reconcile, the bank reconcile means the bank has to be matched with our QuickBook. So for example, all the statement we are importing or connected from the bank. So all the information we have on the QuickBook from the bank feed, and whatever transaction we have categorized so far from the QuickBook, it has to be matched, it has to be balanced. So if it is balanced, that means our bookkeeping is accurate. So bank balance is matched with the QuickBook, that means the bank is reconciled. We need to be very careful. If the bank is not reconciled, that means something we have done wrong. So there is a mistake in the QuickBook. We need to be very careful. If you are a bookkeeper, try to do the bank reconciliation every week or every 3-4 days or every 2 weeks, because don't leave it the bank reconciliation for the whole year. Otherwise, it will be too much and it will be very difficult for you to reconcile the bank. But if you reconcile the bank every month, so what will happen at the end of the year, you will see like most of the bank statement are reconciled monthly basis. So you need to just reconcile the last balance, and you just need to say like this bank is reconciled for the whole year. So you need to make sure you do your bank reconciliation on regular basis. It is very important. If the bank is not reconciled, that means like the bookkeeping is not correct at all. All right, the next thing we have here, as I said, import exported. I think is just for the importing exporting. It's not going to be used every day. So if you use the different version of the QuickBook, for example, if we have a advanced version, if we have a basic QuickBook, if we have essential and the plus, this sort of information can be more or less, but whatever you need to complete your book, that will be even on the basic plan. So advanced section might have some advanced features, but obviously not necessary. You cannot complete your book. So even if you have a basic or essential plan, still you can do it. So I really don't have to worry too much if you have a basic plan, even if you don't see all the options, because you really don't need all of this. All right, the next thing I'm going to show you on the left-hand side, just under the QuickBook, there's a plus new. It's a very important section. Here we can do really, really quick. There's a small tab. You see like the three dot here or three line. If you like to look at the QuickBook in the whole screen, you can just click here and it will give you like sort of more space to work. But this navigation is very important, and that will give you some really quick way to access some important thing. For example, if you like to do an estimate, if you like to create invoice, if you like to make a journal, you can do everything from there. So if I just click on the new, you can see on the customer, vendor, employee, and others. So these are the most important one, even than this gearing menu. So under the customer, we have invoice. I can create invoice straight away, even though I can create the invoice from the customer section. But if I like to go really quick, I can do from here. Then we have a receive payment. So if I have a payment from the customer, I can just click it and I can match the transaction. I can do that. We can do it either way. I can match the transaction from the bank, or I can do it manually from here. We have to be very careful on one thing. If you match the transaction from the bank feed, and if you do the receipt payment manually, so it's gonna be double. So QuickBook will give you the warning, but you need to make sure if you do that, you have a double transaction in the QuickBook. So you have to be very careful. So if you have a bank feed on your QuickBook, and if you have a upload a transaction on the QuickBook from the bank, you really don't have to do that receive payment, because the bank already knows this payment coming from that customer, unless the customer paid you cash. Then you have estimate. Estimate is all about like when the customer like to know how much will be the cost for that product or for that service. For example, if the customer send one inquiry to you for a quotation, and based on the requirement, you send one estimate to that customer. And if the customer is happy with that, if the customer said like, I like the quotation or I like the estimate, so I like to make an order for that. And later on, if you like to create invoice for that, you can do it. So the invoice will be creating very easily if the estimate is already created. For example, if you already have the estimate, you can just click the invoice, and this estimate will be converted into the invoice very quickly. The next one, we have a credit memo. So credit memo or the credit note is just for the return. You can adjust your transaction through the credit note with the credit memo. Then you have a sales receipt. So sales receipt is something if you like to receive the money without invoice. Now, for example, sometimes there is a lot of transaction, maybe one company might have, and they don't raise the invoice. Now, let's think about a restaurant. Let's think about a small business where they have a lot of customer and they don't like to create the invoice. They don't like to give the invoice to the customer, and they want to show this one as a sales receipt. So they just want to receive the money. In that case, you really don't have to match the payment with the invoice. All you can do, you have to just click the sales receipt and you can tell today I receive 500, tomorrow 5,000. If you like to give the breakdown, you can give that as well. If you like to attach the receipt, so there is a option in the QuickBook, attach the file, or there's attachment, so you can always keep the receipt. Like for example, you said I received 1,000 today or 10,000 today. If you like to scan that from your phone or from the scanner, you can always attach that. So what will happen in future, if you like to see the breakdown, you can always see from there. If you don't like to put like small sales one by one, you can put the bulk sales and you can see the breakdown from this attachment. Refund, if there's a refund, then delay credit, delay charges, you can do all of these things. Even though delay credit or delay charges is not very common anyway. The next section, we have a supplier called it vendors. So you can create the expense, check, bill, pay bill, purchase order, vendor credit, credit card, and we have a pin check. So most important one here is the expense and the pay bill and create a bill. So this thing is very common. So if you have a supplier, you need to pay them, and obviously like when you pay them, you can create the expense, or you can say pay the bill, or you can create a bill. the way we create the invoice for our customer, the same way we create the bill for our supplier. Now, if you like to have a vendor credit, you can use the vendor credit. And obviously, like sometimes if the a vendor give you some credit or supplier give you some credit, you can always use that credit on the QuickBook. For example, if the bill is for £500 and if there is a credit we already have for 100, we can adjust the 100 against this 500. The next thing we have a payroll, and the payroll is all about processing the payment for the employees. Now, we're not going to talk about the payroll here because payroll itself is a big area. I have some other videos for the payroll. If you like to see, you can check on my channel. But the payroll is a very important thing for any company. If you like to make a payment to your employees, then of course, like you need to set up the payroll for that companies. And without payroll, you cannot pay any of your employees. This is the rules from HMRC. You have to make sure like the employees is registered with the payroll for the PAYE before you actually make any payment to your employees. Then you have some other section. On the other section, you have a task. So you can set up your task, bank deposit, transfer. Now, transfer is kind of the item for the balance sheet. For example, it is possible you might have a two account. So you have a current account for the business, or you have a savings account, or you might have a two business account, one from, for example, one bank, you have another account from another bank. So what will happen? Sometimes you transfer the money from one bank to another bank. So that will not create any sort of transaction, but obviously the money is transferring from one bank to another bank. So you need to say it's a transfer. It's a balance sheet item. It have no impact on the profit and loss account or any other transaction. It's just a transfer from one account to another account. For that reason, if you do the transfer, there is no dual effect like a double entry. So there is no impact on your financial statement. Journal entry. So obviously, like the journal entry, if I like to do the journal entry for the year ending normally, then we can do that. For example, we have a closing inventory that not on the bank statement. So we don't see the closing inventory on the bank statement. For that reason, we have to do the journal entry for the inventory, profit and loss account, and inventory balance sheet. And for example, if you have a depreciation, we're not going to see the depreciation on the bank statement. We need to do the year-ending journal. For example, corporation tax. So that one we have to do the journal entry. For example, the dividend payment. And this sort of transaction we do through the journal entry at the year end. We called it year-end adjustment. So this one will be like your final part when you prepare the limited company accounts. You need to know how to do all of these things. Then you have a statement, inventory, batch transaction, pay down credit. It's not very important. Obviously, based on the company you work, you might need to use it, but obviously, like for a company you work day-to-day basis, you really don't need all of this thing. All right. The next thing I'm going to show you now, on the left-hand side, we have some more tabs. The first one, we have a dashboard. Then you have a task, then you have a banking. On the banking, the most important thing we have here, that is the first thing, banking. So if you click the banking, if you already have a bank that is a link with the QuickBook, you're going to see the bank name here. For example, if you have a HSBC, if you have a Lloyd's, any bank you have, you can connect it with your QuickBook. So for example, if I click here, connect account, it will take me to the bank and it will show you some bank name here anyway. So if you don't see your bank name, you can click show more. And if you still don't show it, you can always like click here with the bank name. So you can choose what bank name you have here. And if you still don't see it, you can always choose the one manually as well. So for example, if I choose Lloyd's, the Lloyd's is come here. If I choose HSBC, you can see like HSBC. So you can see the HSBC bank here as well. So most of the bank, the QuickBook already have like this facility or features to connect with that bank. If you don't see it, the next thing you can do, you can actually upload the bank information to the QuickBook. Now, the way you connect the bank, you have to click the bank account, and you have to make sure, like if it is I'm choosing the US bank, that's why it shows make sure your multi-currency is open. But obviously it is not important for us. The reason is we're going to look at the company based on the UK, so we really don't have to turn on our multi-currency option. So if you say okay, it will take you there. So you need to choose the bank, and you have to put the bank membership number, and once you log in, then the bank will be connected to the QuickBook and it will show on the banking section, and you're going to see all this bank information there. So for the time being, I will say like, no, we're not going to actually connect the bank, we'll rather upload the bank. So I'll show you how to upload the bank. So here you can see we have information, say upload your bank. So all you have to do, you have to make sure you have a CSV file, because the upload will not work for the Excel. So you need to make sure you have a CSV and you can upload your bank. So the way you can upload, for example, if you download all the bank transaction on your computer in a CSV format and for the whole year. And after that, you just need to upload. You need to take normally 4 columns. So the date, description, money in, money out. So this 4 transaction you need to upload. If you have any opening balance on the bank, all you have to do, you have to create a chart of account, and you need to put how much money was on that day. So I'll show you this one later on. All right, the next thing we have here, we have a rules. So that's very important and very interesting, and I really like it. I'll show you why I like it, because the rules will make your life very, very easy. For example, if we have a customer named A Limited, and if this is your customer for a long time, so if you make a rules like anything we receive from the A Limited, it's your sales. So the QuickBook will understand it. So every time, like if you receive any money from the A Limited, then the QuickBook automatically identify that transaction as a sales. Now, most interesting thing is like either you can leave this one for the review section. You just say like, okay, even you're telling me this is a sales, but I want to confirm myself. Or you can give the instruction to the QuickBook, so the QuickBook will do it for you automatically. So for example, if I click the new rules, so it will give you sort of thing like, what do you want to call this new rule? For example, you say customer A, and money in or money out, let's say I said money in. Now there is no bank account connected so far, so for the time being it will not show. And let's say what type of transaction it is a deposit. And then we can choose what type of category. I'll say it is a, for example, income. So I need to choose it is a income, for example. So we need to just choose income. So you can say it's a sales income, sales of product or other income, whatever you can choose. And the most interesting part is the bottom. It's automatically confirm transaction, these rules. So if I say auto add, that means it will be added for me automatically. That's the most interesting part. So if I give an instruction to the QuickBook, QuickBook will do for me automatically. So look at once we uploaded our bank, then we're going to look at later on this. All right, so the next section we have here, the cash flow, and we have a sales. So that's very important. On the sales, we will have a few things. If you look at the overview, so we have a overview, all sales, invoice, customer, product, and service. Now, all sales will tell you everything about the sales receipt, about the invoice, and the invoice section will only tell you like how many invoice you have already raised for your customer. Then the customer, you can create your customer name. For example, customer A and B, you can write their name, their address, and their email address. You can write everything. Product and service, for example, it is possible you might have a different service. For example, the company we have a Dreamland accountant. Maybe I provide the payroll service, I provide the VAT service, I provide the bookkeeping. So I can create a different service, and every time I do the invoice, I can tell what exactly service I'm providing. So we can see this from there. So for example, if we click add a product or service, so I like to say it's a service, and name of the service, for example, I say bookkeeping. And then if I like to add any picture, I can do that, but I really don't need to. And then from here, I can see the category. Now I can say is a income, for example. So it's a consultancy income, and I just want to add that consultancy income. So I do some bookkeeping consultancy. That's my source of income. And if I say like normally I charge £50 per hour, so you can put 50. And this is a service, and I can choose like obviously what type of income it is. I say service income. And purchase this product from the vendor. No, I don't normally. So I select save and close. And it will be saved here. So you can see here the hours and service is already by default. The QuickBook already have 2. Now I have 1 more. So now if I like to add 1 more, I can say I have 1 more service I give. For example, I say payroll, and choose the category. Again, the consultant's income. And for the payroll, I charge, for example, let's say 60 per hour. And that's also service, save and close. And you're going to see the payroll as well. So you can add as many as product or service you like to add. There is no problem. It will help you to show the right category and the right income on your invoice on the description. You can add there as well if you want. All right, then we have the next section for the customer and the lead. So it's for the marketing and for the customer. Really not important as an accountant. Cash flow is important. So obviously you can make the cash flow. So we have a planner for the cash flow, but here we are looking at mainly the bookkeeping. So for the time being, I will not go inside of that because bookkeeping is quite big anyway. So we're going to talk today only about the bookkeeping. The next one, we have a expense. So we have a expense here. If you click the expense, you can see the expense, then bills, the vendors, and the contractors. So vendor is a supplier. I can create a supplier, so I can add the vendor, and I can see expense claim, and whatever expense I have, I can do that. Then we have a project and workflow payroll. This is for the if you have an employee, then you can put here. As I said, the payroll is another big area. So I have another videos for the payroll you can watch, but we're not going to look at the payroll for these videos. The report section, we have a different sort of report. So for example, the most 2 important reports we have here, that is the profit and loss account and balance sheet. And we can see these 2 are on the favorite, but if you like to get some more report, for example, I always look at the trial balance. So if you go to the bottom, we have accountant section, and on the my accountant, you have a trial balance. And I always like to see my trial balance. We have a balance sheet journal. So we have a profit and loss. This one is already selected. Then we have a balance sheet is already selected. And then we have our there's a lot of report we have here. We have the audit log. We have a balance sheet summary. And we have that. If you don't find it, let's say if I see the trial balance, because this is another report I really like to see every time. So we have it here. Let's have a look. Where is it exactly showing? So it should be with my accountant. Yeah, it's here. So if we just click here on this start, it will be saved on my favorite section. So if you go back to the favorite, and I'll see like just a refresh once again, and I'll see like this trial balance will be here. Now this 3 report you have to look at most of the time. So it's here on the right hand side. So this 3 report is very much important. Now, for example, if you like to get any report, sometimes the QuickBook will give you the report like just for this month. So for that reason, you can customize your report. So you can see here, create a new report, and you can actually save the custom report here on the custom report section. It will become with your name, and I'll show you how to do it once we categorize some income and expense. All right, then you have some management report, and this is also important for the quarterly or monthly report, especially for the management. But for accountant, like a financial accountant, we really don't have that importance for this management report. So it's for the people who work internally for the company, and that's for the management. Then you have a taxes. This cover the VAT. Now you can see it's called sales taxes, but in UK we called it VAT. Then you can put the mileage on the account. Then you have two things: chart of account and the reconcile. And most of this thing, like we have chart of account. If you look at that, on the chart of account is already so much name already here. You can see the cash, account receivable, inventory, land, this and that. So normally this is the information we can see on the profit and loss account or on the balance sheet. So the QuickBook already put this information by default. But if we don't see anything here, for example, my bank, or for example, I took a bounce back loan from the company, so I can always add that. But if I already see that, I can take from here. The next section we have the reconcile. So for the chart of account, we have a lot of things to see, but for the time being, we just need to know, like, if something is not there, you can click like the new, and you can create a chart of account. Now, chart of account, it will ask you, is it income, expense, bank asset? For example, if I say it's a bank, and it will ask you like under which account. So for example, I said bank account, then the tax from this. So from the section, if I say it is a cash on hand, an account name, if I say the HSBC. But to be honest, when you when you make the chart of account in UK, you're not gonna see this format. It will be more easier format. It'll give you like a box asking for a question, that's it. But here we'll look at mainly the US version, but when you open the UK one, it's a little bit different. All right, so you're going to look at later on this one. And then we'll look at the next section is the reconcile. So how to reconcile the bank. When you reconcile the bank, it will ask you for information. What was the opening balance and how much is the closing balance? So for example, when we enter our bank information, how much was the opening balance that time? And after that, how much is the closing balance we have right now? So if the QuickBook and the bank is matched, the difference will be 0, and it will say, well done, your bank is reconciled. So you're going to look at this one later on. All right, so this is all the navigation so far we have looked at, and hopefully we have some idea now. Now let's start a few things. So the first thing we can do, we can, let's say we make our customer. So you go to the cells, and we can go to the customer, and let's see how can we make a customer. So let's add a customer, and we say Mr. First name is customer, customer, and the surname, the last name is A, for example. And company name, email address. So for the time being, we just like put any information we like, or we can just say like save. Now I just want to put a customer name. So we have a customer. So if you look at this one, we have a customer, the name is A. So I like to create another customer. So I like to go to the sales, customer, add a customer. I say Mr. Customer B. I'm just creating two customer A and customer B. So it is not necessary like you have two customer. You might have more than one customer. You have to put the customer detail. You have to put all the other information. But for the time being, I just like to show you how to create a customer, because I'll show you later on how we create the invoice against to this customer and how to send information to that customer. Then with the expense, I will create a vendor. So add a vendor. I said the vendor name, supplier, I'll say last name X, and I'll create another supplier. So new vendor, Mr. Supplier B. So we have two supplier here. So one is So we like to change it, not be, make it it's needed. Make it Y because we make customer X, so make it Y. So we have two customer. So one is X, one is Y. So vendor bills, expense. All right. So now you can see we have created two customer and we have created two supplier. Now the next thing I want to show you how to create estimate. Now if you like to create estimate, we have to go to the cells and or actually we can do from here. You can click on the left navigation of the new section, you can click estimate. Now estimate is all about like before the invoice, if a customer send you an inquiry and based on the inquiry you say like, okay, that will be the price, and you send the quotation to the customer. If the customer is happy, then you can send the invoice. For example, if I choose a customer A and I said, thank you for your email, I got your inquiry. Based on your inquiry, we can send you the quotation, and you can put the expiry date. For example, if my offer is valid for only 1 month or 2 weeks, we can always enter that information. Now let's say, for example, what sort of service that customer need. For example, bookkeeping, and I said like for, let's say, for 5 hours, and you also need, for example, the payroll for 2 hours. And let's say total make it 1,000. So we'll say 880. So it should make 170 the rate. I just like to make it 1,000. All right. So here we like to make it 1,000. So if I said let's say 15, and my rate is 50, I'll make 750. And here I like to make it a few more. I said 4, 990. And let's say we want to add one more. Here I said like service, and it's a £10 per hour. 1,000. Let's make it 1,000 so that it's look like we can remember it, because this transaction we like to create the invoice later on and we want to match the transaction. Before actually save this, we like to look at our bank statement. So let's look at our bank statement for that customer. Now, for example, if I like to see the bank statement, we can see we have a customer A I have created. I said 5,000, customer B 6,000. So let's actually make it for 5,000 so that later on this customer can pay us and we can see how much he paid. All right, so I'll say here another services. Let's say for the services, and I said 4,000 per hour. 4,000 is the rate for one service. It could be audit. Let's say I say audit. You can create the service anytime you like. So I said 4,000. If I give you audit service, I'll charge 4,000. So I have now 5,000. I like to make it 5,000 because I like to receive 5,000 pounds from the customer, because when I upload the bank statement, I'll show you how to match the transaction for that reason, nothing else. So once you're happy with that, we are creating the estimate. Remember that is not invoice, is the estimate. I need to put the customer email address. For example, I put my email address here, and I just need to check everything is okay. And if I want to do any message, I can say like, this is the offer valid for this day. If I like to send an attachment, I can do that. Once I'm happy with that, what I can do, I can just say like save and send. So if I just save and send, this one will be sent to my email, and that's how it will be look like. So if you have a look, this will be exactly the same thing I'm going to see on my email address. And I said, I'm happy with that, send and close. And then it will be sent to my email address. Now, obviously, like if I like to see like this one later on, like my email, I can log into my email. I can actually see like this estimated I receive it or not. And once I receive it, then what will happen? I'll be able to uh, look at in more. So if you look at my email now, let me show you that. So you can see here, this is the email I have received from the QuickBook. It's like, dear Mr. Customer A, this is this. So you have the information and all the information here. We have a PDF here as well. So the estimate. Now, if I said like, okay, thank you for your email. I like the estimate. So obviously, like I like to accept this quotation. Please send me the invoice, and I like to make the order. So if I'm happy with that, so our next step will be to make the invoice. So for example, if I said like, okay, the customer is happy with that. Now, if we go back again to the estimate, now you will see there is an option that will show that if estimate is a pending or the estimate is accepting or not. So you see this option here, we can always show like is accepted or not, so that we understand this estimate has been accepted. So we can go back and to see where is that estimate. So once we have created the estimate, now we can click on the all cells, and the all cells will show us there is one estimate we have created. So you can see here this estimate we have created today, 21st of April 2023, estimate number 1001 for customer A. The due date is 21st of April, just like we want to get that things done by today. Now it's still pending. So if I really want to check it, I can open it. And if I receive the email from the customer, if the customer said, thank you for your estimation, I like to go for it, I like it, so fair enough. So I can say, okay. So I will tell the QuickBook like the customer accepted, and it will show accepted. And accepted by whom? For example, search and what day today the customer accepted, and it will be saved. And the next thing will be like, I like to create invoice for this estimate to the customer. So what I'll do, I'll go back to my all sale, and here you can see we have a create invoice. If the customer is happy with that, I really don't have to make another invoice. I just need to make the invoice from the estimate. So I'll create the invoice, and I said, okay, I want to send this invoice. So I'm happy with that, all the information, and I just like to create that invoice. So you can say invoice number 1001, and all the information is correct, 5,000, and just click save. And if we click save, now this time you can see this invoice has been created. And if I click here, save and close, so it will be closed. And you can see here this time it says estimate is closed. So the first one, that's estimate is closed. That means the customer accepted, so this estimate is closed. And the next thing you can see open, this invoice is open. The reason the invoice is open because the customer didn't pay yet. Now, if I know the customer already paid to me by cash or by other form, I can click the receive payment from here, or I can click this new section, the plus sign. I can click the receive payment from anywhere. It's the same thing. And after that, I can actually say for which customer, for what amount I paid. So as soon as I click here, receive payment, if I click the customer A, it will show me how much amount or how many invoices due from customer A. So for example, if I choose customer A, and it will tell me like one invoice is due, and how much I receive. It is not necessary I have to receive the full amount. For example, if I receive 2,000, from this customer. I write it down 2000 here, and the balance will be 3000. It will show me. But I don't want to do it manually because, as I said, we're going to upload the bank. So on the bank, I want to show you how to receive the payment from there. If I do it from here and if I do from the bank, it will be double. Don't want that. All right, so the next thing I like to show you, creating another invoice for the customer B. For the customer B, I like to create an invoice for £6,000. So what we do, we will go there, click the invoice, and create a new invoice. And I said this time I want to send invoice to customer B, and let's say it is a audit service for 4,000, and for the, let's say for the another service, and that's 2,000. That's 6,000, and I like to say save and close, and this invoice will be opened again. And if I like to see my invoice, how much I'm estimating, so if you click on the overview, you can see here like the sales on April is quite high, and it will show you like how much money you're expecting, 11,000 here, and the paid last 30 days nothing. So we're expecting £11,000 from the two customer A and B, but so far like no one paid. The next thing I like to show you the bills. So if we paid the bills to our vendor, the supplier, you can create a bill. So add a bill, and let's say for example, we create a bill for our supplier X, and the bill category, you can choose what type of category. Let's say it is a website ad, and we say the amount for the bill is the supplier X is 2,000, and I can say here save and close, or save and new actually. So you can do save and new. You can create another one for the 3,000 for our customer Y, so supplier Y. So we can say this time that's for the, let's say business license, and the amount is 3,000. So that's save and close. All right, so you can see here now, if you look at our expenses, and here we have a two bills and 5,000 expecting to pay to our supplier. So that means 6,000 we're expecting to receive from our customer, not 11,000, and we want to pay to suppliers 5,000, 3 and 2, 5,000. So that's how we can create a bill, and we can create the invoice. None of these things are paid to the supplier, or we didn't receive any money from the customer. All right, the next thing I want to show you how to import the bank to your QuickBook, and this is very important. We'll go to the banking. Before you do that, you need to make sure you have your bank statement saved on the QuickBook, and we don't need a few things. So the first thing we need to be careful, like we don't need any opening balance to put there. We don't need the balance section. For example, if I show you this bank statement, we really don't have to put this opening balance 30,000. We just remember it 30,000. We just need to delete it. And 1st of April this month, and the balance we really don't need. We just need our money in, money out for section. That should be fine. So the next thing we'll do, we will go to our QuickBook, and on the QuickBook we have to look at what is the banking, and on the banking we like to upload the bank. So it's an upload the transaction, and here I'm going to upload it manually because I have the format that I have saved. I said HSBC Bank, open, and it will ask me to continue. I'll continue, and here they're asking me which account I like to choose. Now is very important, like I didn't create any chart of account, so for that reason I have to create one. So I can create from here, add new, but I want to show you from the chart of account how to make it. So we go to the accounting, we go to chart of account, and I like to make a new business account, the bank account. I say new, and I say bank, and I'll choose the bank account, and we'll say it is a national hire account. Account name, I say HSBC Bank, and it's the current account. And we need to put the opening balance. And this one, obviously, as I said to you, if you use the UK version, you might see a little bit different because it's the US version. So I want to put the 1st of April. So it's the beginning of this year. I want to put the opening balance. Normally, it will tell you the date, but let me tell you the date. So 1st of April 23, and the balance was on that day 30,000. So the bank that day I have 30,000 pounds, and I say save. And it says, let's have a look a little bit on what they're saying. So once you have this one, all you have to do, you have to make sure double check the opening balance. This one is not taking the date, but obviously when you follow the UK one, you'll change the date the way you like. So you choose the beginning of the year, 30,000, just click save. And later on, you can change as well from your chart of account. Now you can see on the chart of account, we have this HSBC bank, and it says like it is a bank account, and opening balance is 30,000. So at the beginning of the year, we have 30,000 pounds on the bank. Now, if I like to view the register, for the time being, it will be empty because nothing we have any transaction. It just said like opening balance on 1st of January, opening balance, we have 30,000. So that's like if we have more transaction income and expense, we're going to see everything under the bank register. We can export this transaction later on Excel as well. So I'll show you everything anyway. So now we're going to upload our bank. So as I said, like we have this bank information on the Excel. Now we're going to export everything there. So let's say I'm going to go to the banking, and I'll take the upload transaction, and I'll select the file HSBC and continue. In which bank? I'll say HSBC Bank. And now here I have to choose like how much transaction we have and how many row. I said like, is there any first row in the header? I said yes, because we have a date description, so that's the header for us. How many column for show amount? I said 2, because I have money in and money out. And what is the date format? I said like day, month, and a year. So choose the day, month, and a year. And the first column is the date, second column description, third column is money in, and the fourth column is money out. So we're happy with that. Click continue. All the transaction, I can see it here. So if you have a big file, you'll see everything here, but I have only for the April, just showing you how to do it. So it's showing everything here. So you can see we have a 2 customer, A and B, 5,000, 6,000. And for that reason, I have created the same amount invoice, so I can show you how to match the transaction. We have a 2 supplier that we're going to pay from this bank, 2,000, 3,000, and we have all other expenses. So I said, I'm happy with that. I like to take all the transactions. So I like to click on the box. So it will show it, because the reason it will ask you that, for example, if I don't like to take all the transaction, it is possible I just tick the one I want. If we don't want everything, we can just ignore that few of this, or you want everything, just click the top box. It will be, everything will be selected. And after that, we'll be able to continue, and it will tell us like QuickBooks will import 29 transaction to the field you choose. Do you want to import it now? Yes, we like to do it. And it will tell you it is successfully imported. So it says like all the transaction has been accepted by the QuickBooks. We say done. Now on the banking, you see this bank is here. So if you click on the banking section now, and you can see this banking shows my HSBC bank. If we have more than one bank, we can see it here. On the right hand side, you can see click the link. I can upload the file more. And if you have a more bank, I can put more bank. I can put the credit card, the PayPal, everything. I can see it here. Either I can do it manually, I can do it, I can link my bank with the QuickBooks. But every 60 days, we have to refresh it, because with the EU rules, for the GDPR rules, after 60 days or 90 days, the bank will stop sending the feed, and you have to, or the client need to log in again, so that we, as an accountant, we can get the information again from the bank. So once we have this thing, that means we are now ready to look at our bank. This is our bank, so HSBC Bank, and we can see the cash book said we have 30,000 on the bank, and that's the opening balance. So far, we didn't categorize anything, so we said, okay, that's fine. And now we have to look at our for review. Now, in the banking section, we have a 3 tab. The first one is called for review. For review means like the transaction will come first here. So either we upload the transaction, or we link the bank, so transaction will come automatically here first. And once the transaction come here first, we need to say which one is the right transaction, and we have to categorize it. So after the for review, the next section we have categorize. So once we select from the for review, anything we categorize, it will be on the categorize section. And if something, for some reason, if we don't want it, for example, if we have a double transaction, or if we know this is the double one, we don't want it, we can exclude something. For example, if we exclude it, it will come to the exclude section. For example, one transaction, we have the maintenance. And if I don't know what type of transaction it is, and if I just think like, okay, I want to exclude it, I can exclude from here. And obviously that will not be categorized, and it will be go to the exclude section. So I'll show you later on, maybe any other video, how we do that. Then if we can find any match, that means if this transaction is linked with any other transaction with the QuickBook, it will show you the match. The way we look for the invoice for this payment, I'll show you. And if it is a transfer or it is a credit card payment, you can choose. Now, let's say, for example, the first one, I'd say like it is our maintenance. So let's say, for example, if I say it is a maintenance, and QuickBook automatically telling me it is a marketing expense, but repair and maintenance, I don't want to say it is a marketing expense. I want to say it is a repair and maintenance. So I want to create a new account. I want it will go to the repair and maintenance account. So I don't see any here. So I can always make one if I don't see which one I like. So if I want to create one, I can click add to new, and I said it is a repair and maintenance. And a repair and maintenance is expense, remember that. So we need to know how to create this thing. We click here, repair and maintenance. Now, obviously, the income and expense relevant to our profit and loss account, and something in the asset or liability, it will go to the balance sheet. So if you already study accounting, you know this basic thing anyway. So we click here, save and close, and it will go to our repair and maintenance category. So the next one we have here, property insurance. And if I don't like it, it's not advertising, I say it is insurance. So I'll check, did I find any insurance here? And if I say insurance is expense, yes, I said insurance. Then it will be categorized. So far two entry have categorized. And if you come to the categorize, you're able to see these two transactions. If for any reason, if you think you made a mistake, you can always click to the undo, and it will go back to the for review section. So what will happen if I think if I made a mistake, or by mistake, if I make it here, I can always make it undo. All right, then the for review, we will have a telephone. So again, it shows it is a QuickBook. Always try to get something. It is not necessary. QuickBook is always right. You can always choose the right one. So telephone expense. Let's have a look. Do we have telephone? And we don't have it here, telephone. So telephone. So you can create one if you don't have it. So I said is expense again, and telephone, and this comes under, for example, let's say we put utilities. All right, so telephone we have, and I put under the utilities. And then you have electricity and gas. So this is our utilities as well. So utilities. So you're categorizing every single expense we have. Rates, so it's the business rates. If we don't have it, I can create one always. So we say it is expense. What type of expense? And you can say it is our, you can say utilities. It's not actually utilities. We can say it is let's say other miscellaneous expense. Is the council tax we pay to the council for the business. Then we have wages and salaries, and it is showing like we're paying to. It says it's showing we are paying to the supplier for a match, but we don't have to take it because the amount is 2,000. Not necessary. The wages and salary is 2,000, and that means like the QuickBook find it out there is a 2,000 transaction for your supplier. Is it that supplier? But it's not necessary. It is the same supplier, so we'll ignore that. We say no, this is not to Mr. X. So I will go to the categories. It is not the find match. So I say it is a wages and salaries. So payroll expense, and should come here. And then we have here registration. Let's say it is a contract labor. Happy with that. Insurance. It says insurance. We'll go for the insurance. Insurance. And then we have tire and replacement. We go for the repair and maintenance. And then we have a vehicle service cost. We go to repair and maintenance. And then we have a fuel, the motor expense. Always make one if you don't have one. We have expense account, and this is, we can say it is our miscellaneous expense. The rent, you can choose the rent. And then you have equipment hire, the motor expense. I have a sundry, let's say some marketing. And then we have a cleaning the product. Let's say it is the utilities. Disposal and wastage. Then we have a laundry. Again, we'll say it is a utilities, disposal and wastage. And then we have a travel. And right. Then we have a entertaining the meal. So this one we can say it is entertainment. So entertainment. Then we have the next one. The next one we have a parking. So it's a vehicle. So I take vehicle, newspaper, magazine. So I can say like it is a utilities. I'm just categorizing. So if you know how to categorize, it is absolutely fine. It is the income and expense you're choosing. Then promotion, we can say equipment hire is fine. General, just take like supplier, advertising. We say advertise. Then the business insurance is insurance. Then you have a license fee. That says travel. And now you can see we have few transactions. Now this one, it shows like one match found, one match found. If you remember, we have created our customer, to customer and to supplier. For that reason, the QuickBook is trying to tell me, listen, you have created some customer before. Maybe this customer paid to you. For example, if we have a customer A and B and supplier X and Y that I paid to the supplier, I need to pay. So let's choose the customer first. I open the customer A and it's telling me like maybe this customer is paid to you. Now you can see here we have a categorize, but here automatically shows the find match. That means they're telling me like, look at who the paid that person. Is it the customer paid to you already or is like someone else? Now we have to decide like, is that customer paid to me or not? If that customer already paid to me, that means I really don't have to categorize it. Otherwise, it will be double. Need to be very, very careful. If you see this thing, the green thing is the one match found. That means like this information already QuickBook have, and they try to link it. That's very important. So I'll say, yes, this is my customer A paid to me for the invoice number 101, and I want to match the transaction. I said match. Then you have a customer B. That customer B paid to me 6,000. If you click here, you can see it's a find match. If you click the find match, it shows like how many matches found. If you try to look for any other found matches, so if you click, it will show if there is more than one. I can see only one invoice for 6,000. So I'll say like, this is my customer paid to me. So I said, yes, match that. Then you have a two suppliers. Supplier X, I paid £3,000. I created a bill. So this payment may be for that supplier. So I said, yes, match it. And finally, this supplier, I paid 2,000 and it looked like it didn't find the match. So I want to click here because this supplier I paid, if you remember, I paid 2,000 to supplier X, but they didn't find it. It's not necessary. The QuickBook always finds the right information, but I always want to check, is it find match or not? So I said find match. And I can say exactly £2,000. And I said, yes, this is the £2,000 is that one I need to pay to the supplier. I said, yes, save. And that will tell me like now all catch up. All catch up means like every single thing we have here, we have categorized it and everything went to the categorize. Now you can see the bank balance, it shows like only zero and the QuickBook balance, it shows 3,500. The QuickBook shows how much you received and how much you paid. So if you find the difference, you should have £3,500. And if you remember our Excel sheet, so if you go back to our Excel and you'll have a look, if you find the imbalance, so that is the way we reconcile the bank. If you remember the opening balance, we have 30,000 and we have received 11,000 during the year. So 11,000 we have received and we paid during the year 37,500. So minus 37,500. And if you have a look, that show you exactly 3,500. That means that was opening balance, how much we received during the year and how much we paid during the year or during the month. So we should have 3,500. and the QuickBook telling us, yes, we should have 3,500. So that means our everything is catch up. So you categorize everything. So there is no problem for that, but we need to reconcile the bank. All right, so how we reconcile, I'm going to show you now. So far we understand how to categorize the expense, how to match the transaction. If there's a transfer, we can do the transfer. And if we don't like anything, we can always go back. For example, from here, if we think if we made a mistake, we can click always undo and it will go back to the for review section. And from the for review section, we can decide what type of categorize it will be. And if we don't want it, we can always put on the exclude. So exclude will be, I don't want to put it, but it's a very rare. You don't have to put on the exclude until you know this transaction is double, or for any reason you don't want it. All right, now I'll show you how to do the reconciliation. So all you have to do, you have to come to the accounting, you click on the reconcile, and it's very important to reconcile your bank. And we say, let's get reconciled. Now it will ask you your beginning balance and the end balance. Now, which account I'm going to reconcile, you have to choose from here. I'm going to reconcile my HSBC bank account. So I said HSBC. And HSBC said at the beginning of the year, I had £30,000 that I have put myself as a opening balance the day I have put all the information on the QuickBook. And on the ending balance, I said I have 3,500 because I checked my bank statement, and on the bank statement, on the closing balance, on the last day of the month, I see we have 3,500. I entered that balance. And what day it is? I said 31st of April. 30th of April, I see on the bank I have 3,500. And I say start reconciling. And if everything is correct, then my bank will be reconciled. There will be no difference and it will be zero. You can see it is a wonderful, like we are very much done. We don't have any difference. You can see here, if it is not reconciled, it will show you how many payment we have. We have only two payment from the deposit. We have only two deposit from the customer A and B, that is 5 and 6,000. And how many payment we have made, all the payment we paid to our supplier, this and that. And this will tell us like how much was the opening balance, how much payment we make, how much we received, and closing balance we have 3,500, and we have no difference. That means our bank is reconciled. We're very much happy because our bank is reconciled. We have to do it every month so that we can keep our bank up to date and it's reconciled. So if you're happy with that, you just click finish now, and our bank is reconciled. You reconcile the bank account, very well done. So done. Now we can look at our report. So let me show you the final bit, the report. And on the report, we come to the standard report. And here I like to see my profit and loss account. And on the profit and loss account, I can see from January to April. So I really don't have to see January to April. I can choose any month I like. I can do customs, or I can do the last month, last quarter, this year. So there's a lot you can see here, last year or last month. You can choose anything you like last 30 days or last year to date. We can see the way we like. So there is all date, so we can see everything we like. Now, if you like to really save one a report, for example, I want to see all this report for the last quarter or for the last financial year. So what I will do, I will say like, for example, I want to save it. So you see on the right hand side have the save customization, and you put the profit and loss, we put the name, and on the group, obviously, like if you want to make a group, you can do that. If you want to share, you can do that as well. So name of the group, I said profit and loss account, and I said like Sajid, and I just save. Now, next time, if I like to see the report, I just need to go to the report center again, and you click on the customs report, and you see my name will be saved here, profit and loss Sajid. And if I click here, and it will show me this report. So any report, if you like to save, you can save that way. And from here, you can see all the information. For example, if you like to see how much income we have, so we have a two service income, 11,000. If we click here, it will show you the breakdown who paid to you. So you can see here we have received 4,000, 2,000, 4,000 to 41. So this is the breakdown of all the income we have, total 11,000 from two customer A and B. If I like to see the bills and utility, how much the website costs, insurance, everything you can see it here. If you like to see the breakdown, you can see that. If I like to see my balance sheet, I can go back to the report, and on the standard report, I can click on the balance sheet. And the day I like to see the balance sheet, 21 of April, I can see on the bank, we have now 22,400 because we are in 21st of April. Now, if I change it to 31st of April, for example, 30th of April, the end of the month, you can see we have only 3,500. That is the bank balance we have on our bank statement. So it has to be reconciled, it has to be matched. And this is our bank balance, this is our shareholder fund. If you know how the balance sheet look like, this is all information we have. So this is basically the basic understanding of the QuickBook Online. If you understand so far, this is absolutely brilliant for you. That's how we work. That's how you need to make yourself more confident in the QuickBook. And obviously, more you practice, you'll be more expert. Now, obviously, you can practice 30 days from the QuickBook Online. You can download it. You can keep practicing 30 days. You can play with that the way you like. And more you spend time, more you do practice, you learn more. And the report section, the trial balance, everything you can just make yourself. You can try to see how it work. You can see with two bases, cash and accrual. Normally it is accrual. If you like to see the cash basis is all about how much you received and how much actually paid. But other than every company follow the accrual basis. And if you work on the company, definitely it will be accrual basis. So I hope this videos will be very helpful for you if you start learning the QuickBook. And of course, like if you have any question, feel free to email me. You have my email on the description. And of course, like if you want to learn more, you have to practice more. And if you stuck anywhere, you need to find how can you solve it. And if you try to learn more, you have to do more practice. You have to raise a question by yourself, like what else I want to do in the QuickBook, how to do this thing. For example, if you like to learn the payroll on the QuickBook, if you like to learn the VAT on the payroll, or how to do the management report or cash flow, or this stuff that is not very important for the financial accountant, the management thing, but you need to know the payroll, you need to know the VAT, that also part of our QuickBook. And but the main thing is like how to categorize the expenses from the bank. This is the one of the things you have to learn. You have to be very much expert on that, and also how to reconcile the bank and how to match the transaction, how to upload the bank or how to connect the bank. This sort of things are very, very common. How to prepare the chart of account. For example, if you buy furniture, if you have a loan, how to track the depreciation. This sort of thing you need to know as a bookkeeper. But as a beginning lesson, I think you should have a very brief idea now about the QuickBook Online, and hopefully it will be very helpful for you. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching.